Hello, everyone. I'm Phoenix Tremayne. Today I'm going to be talking about the Kings of Napa over on Twitter. If you're following me on Twitter, I talked about the Kings of Napa and how I came up with my theory on who I think the blackmailers could be. And since the post got like a really great response, I decided to go on ahead and do a video on it because I also know that my soap fam on my YouTube channel also watches the Kings of Napa. So in season two, I'm definitely going to review the Kings of Napa for season two. So I'm going to give you my theory on how I got to my final two suspects. I'm going to start with the person who least likely did it, and then I'm going to end with the people who most likely did it. And I'm going to throw in, after I talk about the blackmailer, something that I think that could also possibly be true. And it happens on soaps all the time. So, we're going to begin with the least likely person who did it, which would be Christian. Now, I don't really see any reason why Christian should do it. Would have been a blackmailer. He has a girlfriend who seems to be leading him into a direction of trying to do things on his own, and focus on his own line of line, and he just doesn't seem like the type of person who would do it because he just really isn't even as involved as in the family secrets. So Christian is going to be my least likely suspect because, like, why would he do it? It just doesn't make sense. Then we're going to move on to Melanie. Aunt Melanie. Why would Melanie be the blackmailer if she's already given up $10 million to help Reginald pay off the blackmailer and get, the winery out of debt and everything? So the fact that she's giving him money makes it so that, it wouldn't really make sense for her to be a real suspect in who the blackmailer could be. The third person that is least likely to be the blackmailer is Yvette. Now, I don't know how successful her wig line was, but she doesn't have her own place to live. She's living in a mansion. And, she's a person who knows all of the family secrets. And I just don't see her character as a person who's being a blackmailer because she's trying to help save the winery. That's why she slept with the guy and begged for her place, within the house. And, she just seemed like she keeps secrets. She's, gives advice. She's that character. She's not the blackmailer. And of course, another person who is on my least likely list of having to be the blackmailer is August. August has panic attacks. I don't think she has the stomach to be the blackmailer. Maybe season 2 or 3 she could be that devious, but in this season she's having panic attacks and not knowing what to do, and she's also trying to save the winery. The blackmailer is calling her, threatening her. So yeah, I don't think that there's any reason why August would be the blackmailer for the simple fact that she's also now in control of the company. She'd be blackmailing herself. And now we get to the second line of people where we get much closer to people that have the possibility of actually being a blackmailer. Now, I mentioned this in the post, one of my responses to a post on Twitter, where someone said to me, well, Bridgette is clearly the blackmailer. And I said, well, as a writer, I know that when you're writing a mystery, you throw in red herrings. You want the person who did it to be actually very clear and in the viewer's face, or the reader's face if it's a book. And at the same time, you want to distract the audience away from the person who actually did it, like in The Usual Suspects, or the Usual Suspects, where we had the whole Kaiser Sose thing, and the red herring didn't turn out to be another person. It turned out to be the fact that he was the cripple. So you thought, oh, he's weak, he's a cripple. It couldn't be him. That was your distraction. And then all these other characters became red herrings too. And then they made the big reveal. Oh, gotcha. It was him. And that's where what a lot of writers try to do. That's what I try to do when I have written books and things like that, or in my web series or whatever I'm doing. And, I want to write that gotcha moment where you can actually go back and review the story and go, oh, clearly it was that person, not this one, because they're doing everything in their power to make you think that it's first the gardener, or I don't know the job title, but I knew it wasn't him. I said red herring, glaring red herring, and you see how they made you think it was him. They was putting stuff out there to make it look like, yeah, he did it. No, obvious red herring. Bridgette, obvious red herring number two. I could be wrong, you know, because I do think Bridget's a red herring. They haven't flat out said what Bridgette has going on. I almost feel like she has her own winery that she's trying to build, and that's what she's working with the white guy. And maybe even if she did sabotage Sean and Sean, maybe she was just trying to do that to. I don't even think she sabotaged Sean and Sean. I just think that she's trying to do her own thing. She found out that was her father, and she's really good at the grapes. I think it's some other plot more in that direction is probably what Bridgette is actually doing. I really don't believe she's the blackmailer. I could be wrong. Even when they showed you the money, it's like that's something they would show you in a finale, not the penultimate episode. And being a bank teller, like I used to be a bank teller like 25 years ago, and someone who had to count cash. So I had to strap hundreds and strap 20s and, like $50,000. Even as a bank teller, our drawers we had to count $10,000 a day because that's what was in our drawer. And when I look at her painting that she opened up, I see one is all 20s. And I don't know where the money came from, but I do know that's not $150,000. And even if it is, the blackmailer has been blackmailing for months. Two different wineries, and that's like $300,000 a month. So she should have way over like $1 million, or even more. So I think that's part of her being a red herring, is that making you think that she is. They trying really hard. That's why I don't count her as a suspect. Moving on. Well, this is a person that you probably would think that I should have had like after Christian. But Vanessa King, the mother of the family, it wouldn't surprise me if she was the blackmailer, because I think it would be a good twist if she was, that she actually already found out that Reginald had a daughter, Bridgette. And wouldn't it be crazy, and it's something I would write, that that Vanessa was actually the blackmailer, that she was blackmailing Reginald to punish him for cheating on her and having a baby on her, and that I think that could have been a good twist. That could have been her motivation. The only problem with that is she was hiding in the closet. So try to get information on the computer, looking shocked at how deep the relationship was. If it wasn't for that one episode, she might even, be a little bit higher on the list, because one of the ways when they do a murder mystery or or mystery in general is they try to make it the least likely person, the one you would never suspect. And the one we would never suspect would be Vanessa, who also, when everything was going on with the blackmail and everything, she was really out of it for a really long time. She wasn't even part of the storyline. So if she hadn't had that closet scene, I would think that maybe she was harboring some resentment, and she could have done it, but she didn't, because for reasons already stated. She that one episode took her off my list. Now the next person up would be Dana. Now Dana was my original suspect from like they didn't reveal there was a blackmail situation until the end of episode 1. So starting with episode 2, I was like, yeah, Dana did it. That was like my first thing. It was like, yeah, Dana's like my number one suspect. People I know who watch the show said the same thing. We think Dana did it. You know that he's the J.R. Ewing of the show, like before he got power, and I could see him doing something devious. He also is a person who is constantly throwing other people under the bus. So instead of you thinking he did it, he's trying to make everybody else look like they did it. So that is a good reason why Dana could possibly have been the actual blackmailer. So he was on my list for a while. On the list for a while. But there were two people that crept past him that made me go, okay, I'm really starting to look at the next person, which is Kelvin. Kelvin, the lawyer. I think around the same time that I started suspecting Dana, I started suspecting Kelvin because I noticed, and I'm sure we were supposed to notice, that Kelvin, who was supposedly leaving his wife, has some history with the Kings. They keep talking about, he was in the family, I guess adopted or whatever. I can't remember, foster kids, something. But they helped him out. And I felt like there was some sort of resentment about that. There was something that may have went down that we ain't been told about yet. But Kelvin and his wife, especially when we started hearing that it could possibly be two people, that I was thinking Kelvin and his wife, because while he was trying to get in August pants, his wife was also on social media like nothing had changed. There was no divorce, nothing was going on. They were perfectly fine and happy. It wasn't until August really brought it up that suddenly that all of that stopped, and now his wife was mad and bitter, and just like, now they're having a divorce. So I figured if it was going to be a two-person blackmailing team, it would make sense for it to be husband and wife, which also made me think about Dana and Rose too, but we're about to get to that. So Kelvin became my number one suspect after I decided, well, maybe it's not Dana. I'm going to get down to my number one suspect, which is Rose. One of the main reasons why Rose got pushed way up the list, because at first I thought maybe Dana and Rose were working together, because once again, two-person blackmailing team, and that because the blackmailer couldn't be in two places at one time. So two-person blackmailing team, once again, husband and wife, Dana and Rose working to take down August or whatever, and and then, because I don't think Bridgette did it, and there was more evidence in Bridgette's apartment, I felt like the only person we've seen in her apartment that could have potentially did it, because I've already counted out all of the other people in the cast. So then it came down to Rose. She was there. She had ample time to plant evidence that Bridgette was guilty. She also had access to the house. Remember, the blackmailer said that they was looking at the mother or something to that effect. So it was like, who was in that scene, who was in the house, who could have been able to be around them to know them so well. Now, I don't know how Rose would know Sean and Sean, but there is a potential that there could be a link there. I'm not sure what that link is. Just being around the wine business alone, and she's also in communications, that in communication she could have also gotten some information about Sean and Sean that could have, made her the blackmailer of them too. And also being one of the kings and being on a winery, she could have easily have learned how to poison the grapes and things like that. That in regards to whether it's the Kings or Sean and Sean, she's the person who could have done that. She has motivation because she is She gets nothing. So stacking up some cash in case, Dana, is Dana and they get divorced. She would actually have some money. She would have some leverage. And being a fan of Dynasty, I think that her character would actually be the perfect Alexis. How Alexis was. Her and Blake were together, and then something went down, which was the son being kidnapped, and then he blamed her for everything, and they broke up. And when she came back with a vengeance. And so I could easily imagine her, even if she turns out to be the blackmailer, that she doesn't get locked up because she has information on something that they've done or whatever. So I think that my number one suspect is going to be Rose. And there's ways to write it so that she could do it, and then they just move on with the storyline in another way because they need her or something to that effect. So that's why Rose is my number one suspect, because who planted stuff in Bridget's apartment. Um, and the second person that they could be working with could easily be the private eye that we've seen in, I think it was like 4 episodes. So the private eye could also be working with Rose or Kelvin or Dana easily. So those 3 are the main suspects. I'm kind of leaning towards Kelvin and his wife, but then I really feel like Rose could definitely be the one. So Kelvin, Rose, that's where that's where I'm landing. Um, I'm not sure if Dana would tank his family's business just to maybe buy it and take it over again. That's possible. But this little corner right here of those suspects, yeah, that's how I came to my conclusions of who I thought the blackmailer or blackmailers plural could be. Now, one last thing I want to talk about that struck me, like even from the first episode and the funeral and all that, um, is Reginald really dead? Because I've seen a lot of shows where, you think a person is dead and then it turns out they were actually alive. Now, just hear me out. Now, maybe because I'm a writer, I went on ahead and it started spinning stuff in my brain. But if I was Reginald and this blackmailer was, I couldn't figure out who it was, and things were really getting really bad and I really didn't have the money, faking your death could be a way to, one, stop the blackmailer because they don't have the main person that they're targeting. Although it went to August, he may not have known that. But if he faked his death and was behind the scenes trying to figure out who the blackmailers were, it wouldn't surprise me in the least. I've seen it happen on many, many shows before, especially soaps, primetime, daytime. That, yeah, that's a question mark for me. Is Reginald dead? Because it would actually be pretty cool if he did fake his death so that he could try to on his own find out who the blackmailer is from the shadows. But also the other thing that would make Reginald not being dead a good thing is because now it would really mess up the dynamic with Dana and August. If he caused all of this drama and commotion in his family, then he was just suddenly back. And then, how would August feel about him coming back? How would Dana feel about him coming back? He could make Bridgette, his number 2 if he wanted to, and they couldn't do anything about it. There's a lot of ways to go with that. Vanessa and Melanie could be fighting over him, where Vanessa's mad and hate him at the same time. She just don't want to be with Melanie either. And then, Dana's has a complex already, so that would really mess with him. And knowing that his father made him not get that job so that he could be in the family business, and all, it's just so many ways that this could turn out to be a situation where it would just flip the show upside down, turn everything left to right, and it'd be great to see Vanessa actually get to confront Reginald on camera, and it could be dramatic. It's a drama. It would be very dramatic, but I don't know how deep into soap opera territory they want to get into. One of the things I want in season 2 is for them to take sort of a few pages out of Dynasty, Dallas, Falcon Crest pages from their books, and then not make it really campy, but soap it up a little bit more. I appreciate that. And so that is my conclusion of the Kings of Napa, who I think the Blackmailer is, and that there's a chance that Reginald's not dead. I mean, we didn't. All he did was collapse. I mean, you can fake that. We didn't see, him getting an autopsy or anything. So, yeah, and he still has some money to pay people to look the other way to help him fake his death. So that's it. Let me know what you think about the Kings of Napa and my theories. Do they make sense? Am I way off? We'll find out in a couple days. Hopefully they'll reveal the Blackmailer is in the season finale. But yeah, that's how I came up with my conclusions. And I will see you in the next video.
All right.